I did a degree at Rhodes in journalism and an honours degree in anthropology, which I often say has actually serviced me better in this current environment than journalism has because of the pace of change that we're experiencing. I went on to the Daily Dispatch, which is a TMG-owned title. I started my career there and I've basically just been a jack of all trades as far as journalism goes. I think I've done just about everything in a newsroom, from sub-editing, chief sub, night editor, news editor. I've been a managing editor twice. A lot of production work in between. I was head of newsroom ops at the Financial Times. I left TMG in 2002 and went to go and live in London. And I've just done a little bit of everything. When I left South Africa and I went to the Financial Times in London, what we were doing at the time was rolling out a new system to enable better integration between print and digital. And I showed an aptitude for the technology, as many South Africans do. We're quite technologically minded, and got put onto those teams. And I worked for a long time, for many years at the FT, on the integration projects and the new newsroom projects, bringing everything together. Including about a 4-year stint as head of newsroom operations, followed by a few years as managing editor of the entire group. And that was at a time of enormous change at the FT, integrating print and digital. And then after that, I had a baby and went on maternity leave. And when I returned from maternity leave, I was asked to move into operations on ft.com. So it became a sort of a purely digital role after that. And so it came to me rather than me choosing it. We are all accustomed and have over the years become very accustomed to the fastest deadline being 1 in 24 hours. And I think, as I said, it may sound very obvious, but I think making that adjustment to understanding that actually a 1 in 24 hour deadline is no longer and really will never be again is an enormous adjustment for everybody to make. So, it's what Lionel Barber, my former editor, used to call the broadcast schedule. It really involves publishing literally on the minute rather than even on the hour. So, from that perspective, it means a big change to people's working environments. It means a big change to the pace in which they're working. It means a big change to the hours that they work, because, newsrooms, on a daily newsroom, generally used to start work at about 10 o'clock in the morning. A lot of our digital teams start work at 5 a.m. now. And I think that that's very fundamental for a newsroom and for people to get their heads around. I would love to say that I had actually overseen the whole thing, but I haven't. I've been really focused on the digital teams because that is my role at TMG. Sarah Buitendach is the head of the innovation team, and she's been working very closely with the team from overseas, the Innovation Media Group. We brought them in to come and have a look at our structures, to come and have a look at the way that we were working, to come and have a look at our products and help us to reposition some of those in the market. So this move to this building really has been a culmination of a lot of events over the last 18 months or so. It's included a push from our side to change the digital structures. It's included redesigns of all of our major titles. So within the next few months, all of our titles from the print perspective will be completely redesigned. And it's culminated in the move to this newsroom, which is really, really designed to help all of these titles collaborate, for all of the staff to work much more closely together, and to focus much more on our audiences rather than on each other, on other editors, on the journalism industry in total, and think a lot more clearly about who we are servicing at any given moment. For the most part, that first line is the digital audience. And I think that is the big change for us, and I think that is what this newsroom will help us do. The thing that we are all starting to realize is that if you keep on knocking on the same door, you're going to keep on getting the same results. And I think Times Media as a group has realized some time back that we need to change the way that we work and change the way that we service our readers, put our readers first, The thing about newspapers is actually a very impersonal thing. I mean, the irony is that while we are writing for people, they're often the last people we're thinking about, not actually the first. The newspaper goes out, we don't actually, there's an anonymity to it that we have very little control over. And I think what digital has brought to the fore is that anonymity is being eroded. We now understand people's habits, what they like, what they don't like, and a lot of really surprising things have turned up as a result of that. And I think what we're trying to do is organize ourselves in such a way that we can respond to those changes in our marketplace. So there is still very much a focus on the titles. This is our bread and butter, it's our IP. The thing that we value the most is the mastheads. So we've got Business Day, we've got the Financial Mail, the Sowetan, Sunday World, Sunday Times, the Times. These are all great titles, and the Dispatch and the Herald in the Cape, and we are capitalizing on that legacy as much as possible, because that is what people relate to. At the same time, we're trying a more multi-layered approach to make sure that we're meeting people wherever they may be in their day, as well as holding that those brands first and foremost. Well, very, very slowly, and I think for the most part we've been very kind and gentle about it. But sometimes you have to do something quite dramatic to get people to understand what the difference is. So I mean, I think a couple of things have put that signal very clearly in people's minds. One of them is taking a seasoned newspaper editor like Andrew Trench. Another seasoned newspaper editor like Ray Hartley. Both of those huge names are running digital projects. Andrew has turned and become editor of the Times as well, and he's taken that on in addition to his digital role. But it sends quite a clear signal that the people, our best news people, actually focus on our digital products and not so much on the print products, although the print products are benefiting from the digital outflows. So I think that those are the kind of signals that really do help people to understand where our priorities lie. And I think things like moving into a newsroom like this definitely help people understand what it is that we want from them. Openness, conversation, collaboration, and I think that this kind of space speaks to those type of principles. Well, I think, as I said, very much an open culture where people do talk a lot, where we brainstorm and think across the different verticals. I mean, these legacy organizations can become very siloed in their thinking, and I've seen enormous change here in the last 18 months, just in terms of the way people are thinking, in terms of the variety of people that attend meetings, for example. It's a combination of editorial, commercial, the distribution and circ guys, marketing. We are all there together, and we're all thinking through this from one end to another. And I think that we've already seen the benefit of that. We've managed to push into a couple of different areas that we weren't really having a presence before, and that's working extremely well. I don't think anything is insurmountable. I mean, I think all of the media companies that I've been in touch with or that I've known over the years have different kinds of organizational structures, and some of them are very hierarchical, some of them are very highly networked organizations. They all operate in very different ways. Journalists are notoriously difficult beings to manage, as we know, because there's a high ego factor that we have to take into consideration. And so, I think that there's always going to be some difficulty along the way. But I think any organizational structure, I mean, you can find your way around and find out what works for people. Everybody has different buttons to push. And, for us, I think that there is a high degree of pride in the titles in this organization, and that is something that we need to capitalize on. So being able to increase our audiences and hold those brands first and foremost has brought us the kind of rewards that we're looking for, and I think that is the sense of purpose that will keep people together in an organisation like this. We have politics, of course we do. There are always people who are miserable and unhappy about what is happening, but it is inexorable. There's nothing that we're going to be able to do about it. We have to go with the flow, and we have to do the best we can to bring people along with us, and that's what we're striving to do. Some of it happens through planning, and some of it just happens organically. I mean, there's certain things that we've had to change simply because we found ourselves in a position where what we were doing was really anachronistic. So, I mean, an example of that would be the complete re-platform and redevelopment of all the tech around my websites, for example. So, what we were working with needed a complete overhaul. So that's the kind of change management that is actually remedial, in the sense that it has to be done at some point, and we're trying to make a huge leap in our tech. Other things are slightly more subtle, and as I said, that just involves changing the kind of people who are invited to different conversations. So, the way that we're managing meetings, who's involved and who's not, trying to be more open from a communication point of view, and Sarah's done an amazing job with this and the innovation team in running an internal blog, making sure that the management is communicating more clearly about what's happening. Sometimes these little things can make a very big difference in an organization. Well, I think that I think that women managers depends very much on the organisation that you're working in, and I found South Africa to be very inclusive for the most part of women managers, which I've really appreciated, much more so than other organisations I've known. That is definitely something to work with. I mean, we have to always be conscious of trying to raise the female voices in the newsroom, and there are always instances where not having a representative workforce can really cause problems and groupthink and result in quite bad mistakes. So that's the kind of thing that we do try and mitigate as much as possible. But for the most part, we knock along pretty well. And on a personal level, I will always try wherever possible to help the younger female staff members. I always have done, and I will always continue to, because I remember it very well from when I was younger and trying to find my feet in the organisation. So we try and pay it forward as much as possible.